Welcome back, information security enthusiasts. In the previous episode, we had identified vulnerabilities in the facial recognition system, revealing the techniques used by malicious individuals to evade these mechanisms and gain unauthorized access to physical environments. We observed that a turnstile has its own physical security layer to restrict access to its internal environment. We demonstrated lock bumping attacks and highlighted a security design issue that made it easy to open. If you haven't watched the initial episode, check out the link in the description. In this episode, we will explore the use of turnstile implants to carry out replay attacks, in this case, with the goal of providing a malicious actor unauthorized access by impersonating someone else. To accomplish this task, we will delve into the Wiegand protocol. It's worth noting that none of the topics covered in this series are new or unprecedented, but the combination of these attacks could be useful in a real-world scenario and have a significant impact on the security of the environment. Previously, we briefly discussed the topic of implants, which can be inserted either on the outside or the inside of the turnstile. Depending on the chosen location, detecting these implants can be a trivial task for trained eyes. To illustrate the attack, we position the implant in a visible area behind the ZK-TICO facial recognition module. However, finding the implant inside the turnstile is not a trivial task. Imagine it installed in the wiring that connects the RFID reader inside the turnstile. For this task, you can use one of the attacks explained in the first episode. As you can observe in the image, there is enough space to position the implant stealthily. Do you think identification is trivial? Spectators may be wondering, why insert an implant? The goal is to execute the old and well-known replay attack, in this case, which essentially enables the unauthorized opening of the turnstile whenever the attacker desires. To do this, the attacker must wait for someone to pass through the turnstile and be successfully validated. Afterward, all that the malicious actor must do is resend this data, and voila, the turnstile will open as if by magic. The malicious device is strategically implanted to intercept communication. The process begins with the collection of the desired data for later forwarding, at which point the implant proves to be a crucial tool. Behind the scenes of ZK-TICO's facial recognition module, a small device known as a Node MCU has been installed. This class of implant is not exclusive to turnstiles. It can be used in a variety of devices. Basically, any system that communicates via the Wiegand protocol becomes a potential target. This implant can be implemented in various access control systems, such as facial recognition modules, fingerprint modules, among others commonly found in corporate environments. It's common to find these access control devices installed everywhere in companies, such as on the server room door, in the treasury room, in the boardroom, and even in the SOC room. Hopefully, the scope of this attack has become clearer. However, just to illustrate, let's examine a didactic example in a visible area on the turnstile. As mentioned in the previous chapter, this turnstile can perform facial recognition even when the user is wearing a mask. At this moment, I will put on the mask and demonstrate that the turnstile continues to operate normally, simulating being a regular employee. The turnstile identified me, checked my temperature, and authorized my access. As can be observed, I entered through facial recognition and returned using a badge to demonstrate that there are different technologies used by the turnstile to manage access control. The Node MCU is connected to the Wiegand wiring of the turnstile and essentially creates a wireless network for the attacker to manage the device. To access it, we will use a mobile device. The network in this case was configured with the name PrideSec tool. Once we find the network, we open the browser on our mobile device and enter the IP address that we configured on the Node MCU. This IP address will take us to a small web application where we can observe various information, including the features available and a list of logs collected. Upon opening the logs collected feature, we are presented with a series of information in binary format. This information is simply the representation of the authentication through the protocol called Wiegand. In this scenario, we copy this representation into the binary data field and then click on the transmit button. Essentially, this process instructs our Node MCU module to retransmit this binary stream. As a result, The system will recognize the user as myself, the person whose data was captured, and voila, the turnstile will simply open as if by magic. At some point, you may wonder how a real attacker would insert the implant into the turnstile without arousing suspicion, especially in environments with security guards and cameras. Although our focus is not on telling stories about physical penetration testing, one useful and effective technique is to present yourself in uniform as an employee of the company responsible for maintaining the turnstiles, since these individuals are rarely approached and the familiar uniform instills confidence in employees. Other strategies may include the use of social engineering or gathering information at strategic times, opting for moments when security may be more relaxed, such as during busy times or shift changes. In the example, we showcase some images from which we can gather information, such as details about the uniform used by the maintenance company, identification through badges, and the equipment typically employed. Now that we have learned how to place the implant without getting beaten up by the security guards and witness the attack in action, let's delve deeper into its inner workings. The attack we conducted exploits the Wiegand protocol, transmitting data in plain text. The term Wiegand is a tribute to John Richard Wiegand, a German-born inventor who uncovered what became known as the Wiegand effect, a non-linear magnetic phenomenon, even filing a patent in the 70s. While the original card readers are no longer produced, the hardware interface and format are still widely used. Just out of curiosity, the original cards based on the Wiegand effect employed a ferromagnetic alloy wire, generating voltage pulses upon contact with a magnetic field. There are other options available, but the Wiegand protocol is one of the most used in the world and is widely used in many access control systems and their integrations. Communication is quite simple. Basically, there are two wires for data, as can be seen in the image, called data 0 and data 1, among other names. Additionally, there is ground and VDC. In the illustration, VDC is 12 volts. The VDC does not have to be fixed at 12 volts, as there are implementations that use other voltages. It's worth noting that it's important to consider the voltage of the implementation, as the Node MCU could be damaged if the voltage isn't suitable. In such cases, following the suggestion of our crew member Lucas Teskey, it is advisable to use a bidirectional logic level shifter. This tip can prevent several Node MCUs from being damaged. You might be wondering, how does the protocol work? Just to illustrate how it works, let's imagine an implementation where the VDC uses 5 volts. When no data is transmitted, both data 0 and data 1 are at high level, which means they are receiving 5 volts. When we want to send bit 0, we basically set data 0 to low level, while data 1 remains at high level, in other words, receiving 5 volts only at data 1. If we want to send bit 1, the reverse happens. Data 1 is set to low level, while data 0 remains at high level, receiving 5 volts. In this way, we can transfer information by setting the bits to 0 or 1. In the presented video, 26 bits are used, following the original Wiegand format. However, it's crucial to note that there might be variations across implementations, meaning that in practical assessments, this format could be encountered with a different number of bits. In the original 26-bit standard, essentially, 24 bits are designated for data, while the remaining 2 bits serve as parity bits. The structure is composed as follows, starting with a parity bit, followed by 8 facility bits. Subsequently, there are 16 identification bits, and lastly, another parity bit. To clarify, the initial parity bit calculates the 12 bits that follow it, and the concluding parity bit computes the 12 bits that precede it. In the presented example, a Node MCU was used, which is equipped with the ESP8266 chip. Moreover, these devices are quite affordable in terms of price. If you want to buy one, you can find it on Chinese websites, such as AliExpress. At the time this video was recorded, these devices were available for less than $5. Regarding the software used in the Node MCU, in other words the code, it is a modified version of the software known as ESP RFID, accessible on GitHub. Check out the link in the description. There are several exciting opportunities with Node MCU. In an access control system that requires PIN codes and rarely receives visitors, we can automate a brute force attack on the PIN. We can even customize the code to test the most common pins initially, followed by patterns that represent known letters or symbols, boosting our chances of success more quickly. Did you like the suggestion of this attack using NodeMCU in this episode? Would you like more details about this attack? Comment below, leave your like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes. Before we finish, we would like to share a valuable tip. In our practical tests, we have noticed that some devices do not follow the identification printed on the circuit. Surprisingly, in some cases, the marks on the circuit differ significantly, even from what is indicated in the manufacturer's manual. For that reason, it is highly recommended to always have a small multimeter to hand. This will ensure that you don't miss the opportunity to successfully install an implant, even when the information on the circuit or in the manual is not correct. Do you have any tips to share with us? Let us know in the comments. We have come to the end of this episode. So far in this series, we have witnessed diverse attacks, including those related to facial recognition, lock bumping, security design vulnerabilities facilitating easier unauthorized access, and replay attacks utilizing the Wiegand protocol. In the next chapter, we will delve into the internal functionalities of turnstiles, such as RJ45 interfaces, access to the logical network, and attacks on management systems. If you haven't watched the first episode, you can access it via the link in the description. The exploration of turnstile security advances. Stay tuned.